Yo, what up world, 502 King Paul. So I'm gonna dive right into the topic of today's video, which is check the childhood. Check the childhood. And I've realized the older that I get that one thing that people truly do not recognize and talk about enough in this world is our mental health. And I'm not making this video to talk about this in some generic Disneyland kind of way. I'm making this video to really fully address mental health. See, one thing that we don't do is we don't take the time to educate ourselves on mental health as a whole. A lot of times you look at yourself, maybe you look at other people out in the world and you're wondering how people move like this, why people move like this. And we tend to label it as something else than what it actually should be labeled as. And that is mental health issues that people are dealing with. One thing that I learned that helped me personally to deal with my own mental health issues, things that I've dealt with in my life, is to educate myself on it. To educate myself fully. I mean, to go in and really do the research and see how these things even begin. And in the midst of me doing this, I realized that there is one common denominator in a lot of mental health issues that go on in this world. And that is, it starts in childhood. It starts in childhood. A lot of the disorders, a lot of the different, just mental anxieties, different things, that behaviors that we are doing ourselves or behaviors that we see in other people, it often starts in that person's childhood or in our own childhood. Now, my pops always had this saying growing up that you are what you live, sleep, eat, and breathe, meaning that your environment, where you come from, your home, and what you see every single day around you is what you are more inclined to be. Now, this is the reason why some people can be brought up in the hood, but have a loving, caring family and end up doing well off in life. Have good relationships, able to conduct themselves well socially. And on the other hand, you'll have some people who are brought up in households where all they saw was cussing, fighting, violence, police, drug use around them on a daily. And they'll go off into the world and be completely destructive and, just kind of follow that same path of what they saw demonstrated in their own lives. Now, this is not to say that the house that you were brought up in determines what all that you can ever be in life. But one thing I've also learned about, this whole you are what you live, sleep, eat, and breathe kind of mantra here is that you can also create your own environment. And that's why some people can come from broken homes, broken childhoods, and they can dive off into something else outside of their home and create a new environment for themselves. For example, like we all heard or seen stories of people who grew up in the hood, right? But then they went on to join a football team or baseball team, or, they joined a med program, some kind of educational program, a band, or, different things outside of their home. And they completely immersed themselves in that. And they chose to use that program or that new environment outside of their home environment to help develop who they are as a person, to immerse themselves completely in that. That's why some guys will stay in the gym all day long and they don't even want to go back home because the environment that they want to be in is that gym. They don't want to be at home. They don't want to go through these things. See, my channel talks about addiction a lot. I talk about mental health things from time to time. I talk about relationships. And a lot of times, we're trying to figure out why it is that we have these addictions, why it is that we're trying to escape certain things in our life, why it is that we function the way that we function in certain relationships, or why we're unable to function successfully inside of relationships, not only with the opposite sex, but also with your friends or work, co-workers, whatever. A lot of people battle with this simply because of the way that they were brought up as children. It makes you have this certain barrier socially. And I had to realize this in myself, man, and I'm not going to go too in depth with my personal story in this video, but a lot of the things that I did later on in life came solely from my childhood. And I'm not just talking about my teenage years. I'm talking about elementary. I'm talking about daycare. I'm talking about middle school years of my life where I went through, I saw, witnessed so much stuff in my life to where I didn't know that it was molding me. No, it just seemed normal to me at the time. It seemed very normal to me that all of this stuff was going on around me. You know, until you get out around other people, until you witness what quote unquote normal life is, you don't realize how crazy your personal life was. And for the people who are going through addictions, I want you to think, because a lot of the times, man, you're trying to get away from something. You're trying to get away from something that you're dealing with in your personal life. And I'm not saying that all of these issues stem from your childhood, but a lot of these issues do stem from your childhood. You know, your codependency on other people, your depression, your anxiety, your PTSD that you're trying to treat. I know for me personally, I went through and witnessed a lot of different situations that caused post-traumatic stress disorder with myself. And I use weed as a coping mechanism because my young mind really couldn't wrap itself around why I was going through all this stuff. But I definitely still felt the pain, the sadness, and everything else that came from it. And what you go through in your childhood greatly impacts the way that you treat other people later on in life, but how you also see situations and how you see relationships in your life. That's why I think it's extremely important that we educate ourselves on different mental disorders. And when you see something or recognize something in yourself or even in someone else, and you can't really put a finger on it, that you go and you really do the research and try to figure out, you know, what do these set traits mean? You know, not just one trait. I'm not saying to go and start labeling people with different mental disorders and all this. What I'm saying is go and look up these certain traits that you're seeing in yourself or in other people and realize what it is that that person may be dealing with. See, I started to learn more so recently about bipolar, about schizophrenia, about about narcissism. And what I found is a lot of people, not only do they come from traumatic experiences in their childhood, but they also have narcissistic parents, meaning that these parents were solely focused on them and not on that child's well-being, not focused on that child's emotional stability, not pushing that child to do great things, not for the parents' glorification, but for that child's glorification, so that child can be someone who is special and a productive person out here in the world. We all make mistakes, but see what I noticed, that a lot of people who have these narcissistic parents, and it could be, you know, a narcissistic parent, it doesn't have to be both, but a lot of people that have these narcissistic parents, they were often told that who they were as a person was not good enough. Their mistakes were amplified, and the small things that they did that were good in life were also amplified in a way of, you know, this is something that they can brag about to their friends to ultimately make that parent look good at the end of the day, and not really putting the child's needs first or what the child's dreams are. We all come into this world with different dreams, aspirations of what it is that we want to be in life. And it's not until someone tells us that that's not realistic, or that's not what you should be doing, or you should go and do this, you should go and do this. It's not until someone pushes you into something else or drives you off the course of that dream that you really start to lose who you are as an individual. I believe that every single person as a child is born with gifts, talents, things that they are specifically good at. And it may not be education, it may not be sports, it may not be the things that we tend to hold up and say, well, you should do this, you should go and graduate from college, you should do this and that. Some people are extremely artistic. Some people, you know, they have a knack for dealing with animals. Some people just, they have a knack for dealing with people. They're able to talk to people in a good way, and able to, maybe they should be looking into like psychology or looking into being a mental health professional. But so many times we're told by either our environment or our parents that this is not the way that you should go in life. You should go this way in life. And it just throws the kid off completely. Like I said, just understanding mental health, understanding the environment that creates a lot of these mental health disorders can help out a lot of people, man. I truly, and it wasn't until my recent years in life, I truly have now become an advocate of therapy. And therapy comes in all different forms, man. But what a lot of us tend to do, especially those of us with addiction who are battling different addictions, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, eating, whatever it is, we found a way to create a therapeutic environment by overdoing certain things in our life, by finding some type of peace in these addictions. And that's one thing that I really want to drive people away from, especially the youth, but there's also some older people that watch my video as well. And I want to guide people away from that, man. I never want to talk down. I never want to tell people that, you're wrong, you're bad for doing this, because I've done a lot of stuff myself. So I can never point at you and say, you're horrible for doing this. You're wrong for doing this. And I've done some of the same things. Nobody's hands are clean in this world. And that's one thing that I've learned, man. And on my personal mental health journey, I've learned that the best therapy comes from talking through your situations. And most of the time with a professional. Because a lot of people who we try to talk to out here in the world, whether it's your parents, friends, whatever, it's not that they don't love you or want the best for you, but some of them are dealing with their own mental health issues, and some of them don't have the working knowledge or the tools to really understand what it is that you're talking about or what it is that you're going through. Yes, it does good to talk to other people who are going through what you're going through, but if they're in the same spot, if y'all on the same plane, it's hard for y'all to get each other up. I can't pull you up and we're on the same level. So it helps to be able to talk to someone that has that working knowledge. It helps to go out and also do the research and figure out what it is that you may be going through, like what's driving you to these addictions, because it's all mental. It's all mental. We do the physical actions of taking the drugs, having the sex, drinking the alcohol, whatever. And I'm not saying that, you're just evil, bad person for doing this stuff. That's not the point of what I'm saying. But I'm saying when stuff becomes an addiction for you, when it becomes your safe house and you're relying on this stuff to give you peace in your life, then it's a problem. It's truly a problem. And I can't sugarcoat this and make it seem like it's not a problem, because I see it around me on a consistent basis. I see it when I go out into the streets. I see it when, I'll go to get me a bottle of something to drink on a recreational level, but then there's the alcoholic that's standing outside the store asking for $1. And when I see these people, man, I don't judge them. I don't judge them whatsoever, because I know on the inside, it's a heart thing. It's a mental thing, to where this person has been through something. They're battling something. They're trying to cope something that they went through before in their life. And most of the time, when you get down to the bare meat and bones of everything, man, when you really talk to people, when you really try to figure out their story, it has roots in their childhood. It has roots in their childhood. And then a lot of the behaviors that they tend to carry out on into adulthood, they just really don't understand where it came from. But when you talk to them, they'll start telling you stories about when something happened to them when they were a child, when they were molested as a child, when they were neglected as a child, when they were abused as a child. A lot of this stuff comes from your childhood, man. And I always tell people that, especially, I have more guy friends than anything else. So I talk to the guys, and, when they tell me about girls that they're dealing with, and sometimes, they recognize it as a mental health issue, or the girl has straight out told them that, yeah, I take medicine for this. I have this disorder. I have that and that and that. But by the time they get to that point, most of the time, because a lot of guys are just focused on getting in the pants, just having sex, they looking past all this. So you done got so deep in bed with this woman, literally and metaphorically. You've gotten so deep in bed and invested with this woman. And by the time you figure out that there's mental issues, it's almost too late, because now you're emotionally, spiritually attached to this person. And it's hard for you to break that off just like that. And you kind of feel bad. If you're a decent person, you kind of feel bad, because you recognize that we all have issues, and this person just needs some healing inside of their life as well. But I always tell the guys that, when they talk to me, this is family members too, cousins, whatever. I always tell them when they come to me for advice, man, you got to check the childhood of the people that you're dealing with. And I don't mean just go on a whole investigation, start drilling them with questions, but ask them very simple things. What's your relationship like with your mom? What's your relationship like with your dad? That's a starting point to ask. Because once you realize that, if they tell you that I didn't have the best relationship with my dad, I didn't have the best relationship with my mom, it doesn't mean that they're already just predisposed to, okay, this is going to be someone that has these disorders, but it lets you know, okay, this is the example that this person had in their life. And then you go on and you start from there. I mean, you just start in the childhood, and then, you ask other questions as time goes on. I'm not saying you sit there and just drill somebody, but you ask other questions as time goes on. So what was you like in high school? What was your crowd like? What were you into? Were you in extracurricular activities? Have you seen any good relationships in your life? Because people will show who they are over time. People, I truly believe they will show you who they are over time. We all go through these relationships where, men and women, you have that, what do they call it? The honeymoon stage, where you're literally just seeing the best version of that person. That person's giving them the best version of you, top layer. They're extremely nice, loving, caring, all this stuff. But as time goes on and people get more comfortable around you, man, they will start to show you exactly who they are. That's why I think that it's important that we take time to build our relationships. Don't just jump straight off into stuff. And that's not only with the opposite sex, but again, in business, your friendships. You have to be time-tested, battle-tested. Time will show you everything when you're dealing with certain people. You can't just immediately meet a guy and be like, I trust my life with you. I trust my money with you. I trust my possessions and everything I have in my life with you, because you have to see where people are at mentally. Some people, man, you tend to think that they're a good person because they may have a good job, or they have money, or they have this and that. But when you get down to it and you deal with them more and more, you'll start to see, okay, how do they actually treat people? How are their morals? And this will show you a lot. This will show you a whole lot, man. But, I don't want to make this video go on for too long, but I do want to encourage people to educate yourself on mental health, not only to understand the relationships out here in the world around you, understand people out here, which is extremely important, because life is all about people. It's all about your interactions with people, how you help people, but to understand yourself. And again, I want to encourage people to, if you feel that you need it, if your life is showing you the results that you probably need to go to therapy, then, man, go to therapy. You have to learn how to humble yourself. A lot of people don't want to humble themselves. I was reading some scripture last night, and it's about a feast. And Jesus was talking about a feast. Basically, if you go to a table, you don't put yourself at the highest position in the table. The honorable chairs at the table. You put yourself in the least position, because it would be embarrassing for the person who was given the feast to tell you, don't sit in this seat, move to that seat. Move down to the lower seat. You will more want for you to sit in the lower seat and then be brought up to the higher seat. And at the end of that scripture, man, it tells you, he who exalts himself will be humble, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. So just meaning that sometimes you have to bring yourself to a place of humility. You have to be humble in your life in order to move up to a higher level. And if you stand so high and mighty to where you don't need help, you feel like you don't need help, you got it all, you big and bad, one day life will humble you. So hopefully I've said some things in this video that help some people out, man. If y'all like anything about this video, anything at all, take a moment, go down below, like the video. Also, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I ask that you please go hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you get all my new videos as soon as I drop them, man. It's 502 King Paul. I love y'all. Y'all stay blessed. I'm out.